Hello everybody, welcome to another Miniatures Monday Ramble with me, Doc Eon. It's Monday, as always. It is Monday the 14th of September, 2020. And I'm here with it first. Oh, just a bit closer. These are the three remainder of the skeleton miniatures from that Kickstarter that had 4 skeletons in it. And we have the sort of dragonborn mage, wizard or sorcerer, in his robes. And I painted them just to look really, really faded and stretched thin. And we have the dwarven lady, we presume, fighter skeleton. Whose armor, it looks a bit dark. It's very it could be it's very corroded. Let's go with that. And then we have the gnome ranger, who with her little bow, also presumably a lady because of the long hair, which she's kept somehow, or it's a wig. It's a Vane skeleton wearing a wig. But they're done. Very basic, but let's move on. I did finish a little more this week. And for the remainder of the minis finished this week, I seem to have come under demonic possession, because it's the Prince of Undeath and the Succubus that are done. We'll start with the simplest mini first, the Succubus. She's okay. I had this idea of trying to paint her this like some sort of sheer pantyhose or something, but it looks more like boots, doesn't it? The one thing about this model that I discovered while painting it that was a little tricky was there was a line across her face, across her one eye and down the cheek, which I thought might be a mole line, but there was no way I could scrape that off without destroying other detail, so I decided to just go with it and paint it as a scar. And let's hope people don't think about it too much. Now, with Orcus here, my main goal was working on a bright red, because I've painted a lot of demons in red over the years, and they tend to come out a dull red. And that's okay, but I wanted something different this time. I wanted a bright, clear red. And I think I achieved that. He kind of pops a little bit. There's not a lot of variety. I mean, there's just the skin and the fur, which are different shades of red. And then there's bone and the metal. And there's the gray material of the wings. And he turned out, he's a little back heavy, but that's okay because he's in such a huge base. You don't really think about it. One thing to note about resin bases like this is they tend, you see there's a little bit of material here and here, which is from the sticky tack that I used to hold them. Resin bases tend to not want to let go of all the sticky stuff. It tends to save some of it, and it does dry out over time. I try to scrape off as much of it as I can, but you gotta be aware they do leave a little residue. And I've seen that maybe the matte varnish hasn't reached all the nooks and crannies. There's a little shine inside of his neck there, which I'm not sure should be there, but it's not a big deal. I'm happy with things like the red and how the wand turned out. I think it's pretty cool. And yeah, the base is also cool. But anyway, because these two figures especially work a little complex, a lot of different stuff to paint. That's all I got done this week, so total of 5 minis. Still working on all this stuff. The various liches, well, not a lot has happened to them. A little bit on this. Spent some time on this guy. I'm still trying to figure out the base on him. But I've, as you can see, put it down a few base coats. I finished the inside of the mouth. And I'm working on the outside skin now. The yellow, it's not going to be bright yellow at the end. But I want this general, the skin to be sort of a yellowish brown, and the hard parts, the scales, no, not the scales, but the spikes and claws to be a grayish, a bluish gray. That's sort of the ballpark I'm aiming for. But I need to refine this a lot. But the thing that I'm most, I feel the most guilty about is the Chaos Toad Sorcerer, or whatever he's called, the Green Slod. Really not much has happened to him at all, and I'm wondering if it's because I'm not interested in him, but I'm thinking no, it's probably mostly just that I'm scared because this is going to be a competition piece and I have performance anxiety, which is holding me back. But now I really have to finish him because the deadline is at the end of next week. So yes, I'm definitely aiming to have him finished by Monday next week. So he'll be done in good time. I have to put this guy at the front of the queue and work a little on him every day to make sure this happens. That is my promise. Well, let's see what other new stuff I prepped. Our mateys, it'd be time to walk the plank. So here we got the pirate figures. They've been base primed, given a wash, and an undercoat on the bases. And as I mentioned, this guy I've painted multiples of before, so I'm gonna have to think of a new color scheme for him. And what else can we say? This guy is kind of fun. He's got a pirate. He's got a treasure chest. There you go. Here's the drunken pirate taking the wheel. He has a lot of detail. Even under his coat, there's a lot of sculpted detail, which nobody's ever going to see, even if I pick it out very carefully. That's kind of weird. Funnily enough, even his sword is for some reason bent. It's sculpted this way. It's like his sword is made of rubber. I don't think I can, or maybe I can bend this up. Well, possibly I can straighten it a little bit, but it looks weird. Yeah. What else? Oh, this guy. This guy came with multiple hands. But as far as I can tell, there was only one right hand with a sword or cutlass. But the left hand had options. It had this bottle, it had a second sword, or what was the third? Or a pistol, right. But I thought the bottle was the most amusing. I suppose there was only the one option for the right hand because he had to have some sort of weapon if he's a pirate. So, yeah, anyway, here's a lady pirate with a map and another guy with just a sword and one with a parrot. We'll see. I don't expect to have super much time next week to paint, but I'll slop some paint on these guys. So this week we actually have a mail call. It's a mixed bag of goodies. Well, it's a mixed box actually from Reaper. It's a bunch of stuff that I got in my September order, and a lot of it is Halloween related, like Elise the Witch, who's sitting on a big pumpkin. We have Halloween Sophie, who's also sitting on a pumpkin, also has a cauldron. We have the Trick or Treat Mouselings, which are 2 Mouselings in, well, Halloween garb. The reason I got them now this month is because last year I ordered my Halloween themed minis in October, and they arrived pretty late in October, and I didn't really have time to paint them for Halloween. So I decided to be a little ahead of time this time instead. So these clearly themed minis I'm going to put aside for a few weeks. I'm not going to start painting them until October comes around. And there's the bonus mini of the month, which was Jada Twin Sons, the female paladin, and she's also going to be put aside because I don't feel the need for her right now. We have some paints. I'm going to try out their range of washes. Washes 1, which is a brown, a black, and a flesh wash, I believe. I can't see the label for the black one, but I think it says black. I don't know, I'm perhaps not going to try them immediately, but relatively soon. Then we have 2 more brushes. I'm trying 2 more sizes out of the range. We have a standard size 0 round brush, which is pretty small. And we have this is a number 4 flat brush, which they call a large dry brush. Even though it is in cross-section, it's actually a lot smaller than, for example, the Army Painter small dry brush. So I think these Reaper dry brushes might fill a gap. This one and the number 2, which is even smaller that I had previously, in that they can help me dry brush smaller areas where the dry brushes from other companies simply would make a mess and spread the paint out over too large an area. Oh, I almost forgot. I got this mini as well. The Oktoberfest Fräulein, who is, you can't really tell, but she's kind of a Bavarian barmaid serving beer with a very short dress and thigh-high stay-ups. So, and this one I'm going to start prepping right away because I looked it up. I wasn't exactly sure about when Oktoberfest actually is, and it turns out it's a 16-day holiday ending in the first weekend of October. So it actually starts in like mid to late September, and so I better get cracking if I'm gonna paint this one in time. Yeah. So out of this delivery of new stuff, there's only one miniature. I'm going to start painting it right away. So I'm going to have to look at elsewhere for other new projects. Going through my archives, so to speak, I have discovered a box which is another old Kickstarter that arrived a long time ago and that I never did anything with. It's from a company called Star Hat Miniatures. As you can tell, it's a lot of heavy metal. And the Kickstarter was for miniatures that are humanoid ducks. So there's one with a big sword and a sort of weird helm with horns or snakes. Here we have the Death Dealer duck with a lot of big axe. We have a sort of wizard duck, or sorcerer maybe with a spear. Another one with is it a crown? I don't know. A lady wizard duck, and so forth and so forth. The duck monk. There's a total of 24 minis here, they're interesting. Star Hat, I don't think I've painted one of theirs before. They have these integral bases that are actually pretty good. They're very solid. They're perfectly round, and they have a good texture to them. So I'm thinking they don't actually need to have a plastic base added to them, which is unusual. This is about the only the only minis I can think of at the moment that I can say that about. Of course, putting all 24 on the docket right now would be a bit much. If it had still been summer, maybe I would have done something like that. But I'm going to pick out a few of them. I don't know, 5, 6, 8. I don't know, some smaller number than 24. And yeah, start prepping them for next week. A few of them are other sorts of humanoid bird creatures. This one is not a duck, but I don't know, what is it, a hawk, vulture, something? But they're in the minority. Most of them are ducks, like 90% at least are ducks. And yeah, I think this will be a semi-comical interlude in my painting. Not so deadly serious as most minis are. So with that, I'm closing out this week's episode. I'm glad you stayed with me this far. Click like if you did, and if you haven't done so before. Subscribe if you haven't done so before. Comment if you haven't done so before. If you have, you can comment in any case. But if you've never commented before, you really should. Try it out. It feels good. And above all, be back here in exactly 1 week or so. Same day of the week, same channel, same Doc Eon. But for now, I'm signing off.